Maria Corina Machado's Nobel Peace Prize has shaken Venezuela's political landscape and reverberated far beyond Latin America. On one level, the award is a symbolic triumph for a woman who spent years opposing Nicolas Maduro's authoritarian regime, yet beneath the celebration lies a deep unease. Her victory could either re-energize Venezuela's democratic movement or provoke a tightening of state repression, a familiar paradox when international honors confront entrenched autocracy. Machado's personal courage is beyond dispute. A devout Catholic and a charismatic orator, she has survived intimidation, disqualification, and the threat of imprisonment. And when Venezuela's presidential election was rigged in 2024, she refused exile and continued her campaign underground. That act alone made her a national icon of defense and defiance. The Nobel Committee praised her for embodying civilian courage in Latin America, drawing parallels to earlier laureates such as Aung San Suu Kyi or Liu Xiaobo. Yet, as history warns, moral prestige rarely translates into political transformation. The Maduro government's reaction was particularly venomous. Within days of the Oslo announcement, Caracas ordered the closure of its embassies in Norway and Australia, lashing out at what it called imperialist hypocrisy. In a surreal twist, it simultaneously opened new embassies in Burkina Faso and Zimbabwe, countries it described as anti-colonial allies. And such gestures are not diplomacy, they are theatre, an attempt to turn humiliation into ideological resistance. But they also reveal fear. Fear that international recognition of Machado's leadership might reawaken Venezuela's long-dormant democratic impulse. Machado herself has courted controversy. Her admirers call her Venezuela's Iron Lady, a principled conservative who prizes ballots over bullets. Her detractors call her a far-right opportunist who once endorsed coups and supported US sanctions that deepened Venezuelan suffering. Both assessments hold fragments of truth. She has indeed aligned herself with Washington's hardliners, including Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, and she openly dedicates her Nobel Prize to Trump, describing him as a visionary in the struggle for freedom. To her critics, this deference reeks of opportunism and invites the very charge of foreign interference that Maduro exploits. Nevertheless, Machado's award exposes the deeper moral complexity of the Venezuelan crisis. It forces us to ask whether peace prizes should honor resistance leaders whose methods are politically divisive but morally resolute. It also reveals the awkward dance between idealism and realpolitik. Trump's government, while nominally backing democracy, has used military force in the Caribbean under the banner of anti-narcotics operations, killing alleged traffickers without trial. Machado's uncritical endorsement of those strikes undermines the very principles of law and human rights she claims to defend. Internationally, the Nobel Prize gives Venezuela renewed visibility. European leaders, notably Ursula von der Leyen, hailed the award as proof that the thirst for democracy always prevails, but academic observers such as Ronald Krebs warns that the pattern is familiar. Western accolades rarely soften dictatorships, they only harden them. When Liu Xiaobo won the Nobel in 2010, China became even more repressive. When Shirin Ebadi was honoured in Iran, she was spared arrest, but her colleagues were silenced. The Nobel Prize, in other words, sanctifies the individual while endangering the movement. Inside Venezuela, the impact is ambiguous. To many, Machado's win injects hope into a demoralized opposition. It elevates her from fugitive to global figure and may shield her from immediate imprisonment. Yet, it also makes her a larger target. Maduro's intelligence networks are ruthless, and his regime thrives on portraying opposition leaders as agents of imperialism. The Nobel Prize, therefore, is both shield and sword, protection for Machado, provocation for her persecutors. Beyond the personal drama, this episode has redefined Venezuela's place in the world. The closure of embassies in Norway and Australia is a symbolic retreat from the West, while the outreach to Africa signals a deliberate anti-Western pivot. It mirrors the Cold War playbook: isolate dissenters at home, seek validation abroad, and meanwhile the United States through its naval operations and sanctions, continues to blur the line between humanitarian concern and strategic coercion. Maria Corina Machado's Nobel Prize is a moment of triumph wrapped in tragedy. It affirms her moral stature but exposes the fragility of Venezuela's path to democracy. It also reveals how international recognition can simultaneously inspire and endanger those it celebrates. Whether this prize will mark the beginning of Venezuela's democratic revival or another cycle of repression remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. Machado has reignited a moral conversation about freedom, legitimacy, and the price of courage, a conversation her country and indeed the world can no longer ignore.